Hello, guys, and welcome back. Of course, this is your host, Michelle Diamond, and today we are welcoming you all back in the house for a wonderful guest this evening, the phenomenal and amazing, loving soul, Rihanna Johnson. She is an author, veteran entrepreneur, and I cannot wait for you to hear all about her and Caleb's journey. How are you doing this evening, Brianna?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you for asking. So, our supporters have heard me blab all about you so far this week. Of course, this month is Sickle Cell Awareness Month, and I know you shared something very dear with me in regards to your son Caleb also having sickle cell anemia. And I just want you to, tell the viewers a little bit about yourself, about you being a veteran, and then we'll, go right into it as far as discussing, what Caleb just went through, because I would like for you to share his story.
Okay, great. Well, thank you for the lovely introduction, and I'm just honored to be here. Thank you for having me. So, a little about myself. I was an infant toddler teacher for about 10 years, and then I went to the military to become a military police officer. And after that, I had my son and my daughter. Well, my daughter first, not my son. um, and that's when I found out about sickle cell. I had heard about it, but I never really knew much about it until I had my son.
Right. So, with that, I know a lot of people, it's a shocker, especially if you're not educated on it. And tell us, do you carry the trait?
I do carry the trait.
Okay.
My ex husband told me that he didn't carry the trait and that he got tested, but when my son was born, that's when we found out that he actually did have the trait.
Have the trait.
Yes.
Mm. Okay, and that means that both parents having the trait, the child more than likely, the odds are high. Well, not the odds. The odds are against the child, meaning that that child would more than likely have full blown sickle cell anemia. So tell us a little bit about sickle cell anemia and what that means to you and your family.
Okay. What sickle cell anemia means to me and my family, it's an invisible disease. So a lot of people can't see it. So it's hard to understand the complications that come with it. So for me, it was hospital visits at least once a month, blood transfusion to just try to keep him stable because his hemoglobin, while normal person's is 12 and higher, his has always been around 8 or 9, which is normal for that of a sickle cell patient. And for those who don't know what a hemoglobin is, it's what gives you your energy. So they already have a lower energy level and their cells are not oxygenated.
Correct. Right.
Um,
And that's where the whole crescent comes in, where, everybody else's cells, you have the regular cell, which is round. And then, of course, thus the name crescent kids, because the cells are crescent shaped like the moon, crescent moon.
yeah.
So with that, I know you've basically, you have a great support system, and I love that. And you are such a motivated person. What is your motive for you to pursue being an entrepreneur right now?
It was definitely my son. I noticed a lack of literature and just education, just products about sickle cell. And he wanted to read about sickle cell and about bone marrow transplant that he just underwent. And there weren't any literature for his age group, they were all for older children. But I think it's very important for children to read. We read all the time. We
Yes.
love reading. My son actually can read. So I decided
Very
to make a book
well.
for him. Thank you.
You're welcome. Right.
And
I watched his videos and just, I love it.
thank you.
Very articulate. But, continue with that because I know the books that you've written, and you have an activity book, and I'd like for you to show the viewers that for me now. Let us know what they are and what it represents and the reason behind the name of the book and what it is your plan is as far as the capes and so forth, because I let you go into everything.
Okay, thank you.
You're
Uh,
welcome.
yeah, so this one is the Superstars Workbook. So I initially started with just sickle cell, but my plan is always to go out and deal with other children as well, autistic and such. So there are many characters in this book just to represent all different types of children. Um, and there are different activities you can do. They highlight love, friendship, and compassion. That way, children understand and they can be compassionate to other children who might be in a wheelchair or have other illnesses that are seen or aren't. Um,
Correct.
and then this is Super K's Rainy Day,
My
which is
favorite.
which is a book about sickle cell. And this book will show you to be caring and empathetic. It teaches you all about sickle cell crisis, the steps for managing sickle cell, and the importance of rest. And it
Yes.
also describes like a hospital visit and what's to be expected,
Hmm.
because a lot of times children are nervous when they have all of these, 10 doctors rushing in or nurses, and they
Yes.
don't understand that they're there to help them. So that's why I wrote that, to just put him at ease, because he had a lot of anxiety dealing with hospitals,
Right.
being stuck all the time. They don't understand why.
Right. And the next book that you have?
Is Journey to a Cure. This is Caleb's favorite book. It's about bone marrow transplant. So it just kind of outlines the process again. But this one, I wanted to make it a little more creative and visually understandable for children, because the bone marrow transplant is very complex, and it just kind of breaks it down in the way that they can understand and that they can feel comfortable with reading. Also, as an escape from the hospital, because you're staying there for months.
Right.
You're not really considered finished with transplant until you reach day 100, which can be an extremely long hospital stay, especially inside of the hospital.
Yes. And speaking about that, and the motivation that you had to, create such amazing books and, activity books that, everyone could benefit from, because when I looked through it, I was like, "Oh, I could color this one myself. I love this." So it's not just for children, y'all. The child in you will come out. So just, talking about that, I know Caleb, if you don't mind me talking about it, if it's okay with you.
Sure.
Okay. All right. He actually just had a bone marrow transplant, and you mentioned in, the long stay in the hospitals. And I saw that you did so many things, and you have a website, and you came up with this cape. So I want you to talk about that a little bit as well for us.
Yes. So a lot of the times when you go to the hospital, um, wearing the gown is very hard for children because their bottom is out. They don't feel comfortable. They're cold. Especially after a bone marrow transplant, the children are freezing. I'm not sure why. But so I wanted to create something to keep him warm and encourage him. So to know that he's strong and his strength lies within, and that every child is a superhero. So that's kind of
Absolutely.
the scope of where my designs came from. I wanted children to see themselves as superheroes, especially the ones that are dealing with chronic illness and um, special needs and other things.
Yes, awesome. Well, I definitely love it, and we're definitely going to back you and support you with everything. And we're going to give your website information towards the end of the program, so everyone knows where to tap in, and give them all the information and all the details that what we have planned for the near future. With that being so, how did you generate, new ideas besides Caleb? Because I know that you told me about the website and you have some other things going on there as well.
Yes. So my children definitely inspire me a lot. They're very creative. As you know, Caleb loves to write and make up songs all the time. So rhyming is quite natural for us, and we love to read. So I just love to constantly make up stories. They like to make up their own stories. And so it's just natural for me to continue to create and to think like a child, because I'm constantly surrounded by children. So that's probably the inspiration, especially dealing with children for so long as an infant toddler teacher. And then I
Right,
actually worked in the hospital as well as being there all the time for Caleb.
right. So you're very well grounded, and definitely have some amazing, motives and just, great minds, because children minds, very wonderful. You'll be pleasantly surprised every time. They're great creators, actually. And, for you, I'm just amazed by everything that you've been doing. I'm so excited about, your strength, through it all. And you keep such a smile on your face. And that's, even when we met up for lunch and, with everything that you had going on, you're just always smiling. So I'm just going to let you know that I love you and your strength is amazing to me. So
Thank
continue to be you and continue to shine. Okay.
you as well. You are
Thank
also
you.
very amazing and you're very bubbly, and I just love it how
Oh,
you're
thank
always
you.
smiling no matter what is going on. And very inspirational.
Oh,
Um,
thank you.
I'm sorry, I keep saying
Thank you. I appreciate it. And, like minds. And that's why I said, the circle that we're building together, definitely means a lot to me, because it's definitely a circle of like minded individuals. And the journey is just beginning for us. It's so much that we have to accomplish, and I cannot wait. And with that, I want to go into everything else. We talked a little bit about sickle cell, we talked about where you got your inspiration. Um, Share with us about the complications of sickle cell disease.
Ooh. So sickle cell affects more than 100,000 Americans. Just that's just in the U.S. And there are so many complications of sickle cell. You have anemia. I mean, well, of course anemia, but you have heart issues. You can have issues with your eyes.
Yes.
You can have issues with your legs. There's an increased chance of stroke. Literally, Caleb was living with a 30% chance of stroke every day that he was alive with sickle cell. And that's the same for so many other patients. It's a
Okay.
struggle just to do everyday things with sickle cell. You
Yeah.
have to watch the temperature outside, inside. If you get into the
Yes.
water, it has to be heated. So there's so much that you have to look out for as a caretaker of someone with sickle cell. That your kidneys can be affected, your bones. I think I said that before. Your spleen. A lot of your
Yes.
issues with sickle
Yes.
cell are because of the spleen, because the cells are not oxygenated and they get flushed out.
Correct.
Um,
Yeah, it's tough, and we connected a lot because we have so much in common, you
yeah.
know, with my mom also having sickle cell anemia, and may she continue to rest in peace. We lost her, a few years back. However, her memory still lives on, and this is why I continue to do this. And strong advocate for sickle cell awareness and sickle cell anemia. I'm definitely more than just an advocate. I'm an activist, because I believe that everyone should get educated, because you do not want to go out there and not know, if your partner has the trait or if you have the trait, and then, to experience everything with full blown onset anemia. It's not easy. It's a up and down struggle, the obstacles, and not knowing for certain if something is going to be there for you, or what your child is going to endure, or you per se endure if you are that child. So it's a lot. And we talked about how it affects you. I know on one of them that my mom had a rough time with is always explaining to people about the color of her eyes, because they always get
The
the
yellow.
yellowing, because of the jaundice. And it's just a constant battle, especially when people are always asking you questions. Well, why are you so thin? Why is your eye, yellow, or why does your teeth, have that shade? And it just goes on and on and on. So it's to
Right.
me, the education part of it is definitely fundamental, and let the viewers know why it's absolutely necessary to get educated and get tested.
Well, because of all the things that we just said, definitely, and also it's just a great peace of mind to have to know that what your partner does. You can get tested before you decide to have children, or when you get pregnant, you can check early on and figure out exactly what it is, your plan of action. Because of as of right now, the only cure for sickle cell is a bone marrow transplant, like Caleb have, but only 70% of people that are in need of a bone marrow transplant cannot get one because there aren't enough donors. It's
Yes.
very hard to make a match, and you need an 8 out of 8 match really to have a successful transplant. And non-related donors have a bit more of a risk. Like Caleb was an unrelated donor
Mm-mm.
for his transplant, but thank God everything worked out very well, and we're very grateful for his donor. So even if you do get tested and see that you do have trait or that you don't have trait, please go to Be the Match and get registered so that someone in need of a transplant can have a transplant and have a chance at a normal life.
Absolutely. This is such a touchy subject for me, and I'm just so grateful to have you here with me to discuss it in such, length, and to reiterate why it's absolutely important, not only for the to get tested for the trait or to see if you yourself have, sickle cell anemia. You should know by now if you do have it, but the point is, as you stated, to actually be a donor. That you know it it's just I can't even begin. There's so many children and even adults that are suffering right now, and in the underserved areas,
Yes,
the less privileged, that don't have the opportunities. So if you are someone that, you are a donor already. A lot of people say they'll be organ donors or whatever on their license, and you are registered donor. Go ahead and see if you are a match for someone, if it's something that's truly, touching your heart to do. With that being said, I wanted to ask you about, the search for sickle cell disease treatment. Do you believe that it has taken the backseat to other chronic illness worldwide?
absolutely. For example, I'm sorry, I have it written down because I forgot. Okay, so cystic fibrosis, it only affects 30,000 people in the U.S., and we already know that sickle cell disease affects 100,000 people in the U.S., but they receive 11 times more per patient than sickle cell disease does, and that just gives you an idea of how disproportionate things are in America with sickle cell disease, not just here, everywhere it's the same. And it's really sad, even with looking for grants and stuff to try to help these
Mhm.
children and get these products in the bookstores, they're pretty much non existent. There's a few of them, but they purposely exclude, sickle cell and lupus from many of the grants that are offered. And it's sad. And I hope that we can all come together, like you said, and build our circle and just improve on this and get these children the information, the help, and the knowledge that they need.
Absolutely. Definitely. So since you touched on that a little bit before we go into other questions, what is your long-term goals as far as being an advocate as well as a warrior's mom?
My long term goal is to have a physical location where children with sickle cell and other chronic illnesses can meet and just feel like normal children and have activities that are created just for them, similar to things that I have in the workbook, the science projects, things that are safe for them because it's very hard for them to just go outside and play. They'll get tired and things like that. So just to have a physical location would be awesome. And also to create a cartoon so that the children can watch it and understand what is going on with them.
Okay. So, with that being said, we know that there are multiple sickle cell organizations out there. Not enough, if you ask me, but there's quite a few. And, you know, why do you believe that your foundation, you know, will be of higher importance, or better yet, what makes you stand out from the others, and how will your organization or foundation benefit the families and the sickle cell warriors?
I think the fact that I have myself dealt with these issues with my son, and you know, they always say if you want to buy a house, go to someone who has a house. My mother says this to me all the time. You want to buy a car, go to someone who has a car. You want to understand sickle cell, then you need to speak to someone who has had sickle cell or who has dealt with sickle cell because they're going to teach you what to say to these doctors. Because there's been many times where I had to advocate for my son, where I go to the emergency room and he has a high fever and they try to send me home. Or I have a nurse ask me, well, how long have you, he's had sickle cell disease? Because most doctors and nurses only receive a 20-minute informational course on sickle cell disease.
Correct. I'm
And
here
it's
to catch
just,
that.
yeah, so it's just, I think that we could build a network of strong parents and build our community and teach these parents so that when they go in, they don't have to have the same issues that I had or others before me have had, because with each generation, we're getting better.
Yes, absolutely. And we are not, I think we are going to
Yes.
build and continue to build this network. Yes, definitely. And I'm 100% behind you with it. And I totally agree with you, and mom is very wise, who understands it better than someone who's, seen it day in and day out, know the ins and outs, the ups and downs, the pros and the cons of everything that transpires throughout the whole crisis onset, and even when they're home, 1 minute they're feeling great, and then the rain's coming, and the joints start to tense up, so many things. you know it's an experience, to say the least. And I know some patients, warriors, actually have to deal with, unfortunately, like the lacerations, like the sores and stuff like that. And because they don't heal fast, it's a long battle to tend to the wounds, and it's heart wrenching. So, to say the least, so you definitely understand, and my heart is all the way in it. So we're definitely going to continue to build in this network and bring everything to fruition. It's a vision that's going to come full force. So, with everything going on right now in the pandemic, I know we thought we were going to be out of it, and it looks like something, that's going to be
Doing
going
again.
on for a while, or new normal. Um, how have you and your family been affected, considering Caleb's, bone marrow transplant? What does this mean for you guys, dealing with this pandemic right now?
Well, our movement is definitely limited. We try to only go out when necessary. We always wear our masks. Of course, we try to keep the kids 6 feet apart from other people, but of course, it's very hard, because they're children and they see other kids and they want to go play.
Right.
And a lot of other people are not wearing masks, so I usually try to keep them in the house or outside, unless my son has a doctor's appointment, him especially, because he had a cold and it took 2 months for him to get over. So I don't even want to know what would happen if he was to catch COVID.
You're right. Zero immune system right now for
Yes.
him to get it. Yeah. Oh, so heart wrenching. So, what is your greatest fear, and how do you manage that fear?
I think, my greatest fear is the same as any mother's greatest fear. It's to lose any one of my children. And I just want to always try to make sure that I'm constantly aware of anything that I can be aware of, any dangers, just like I'm sure any other parent does.
Right. Absolutely. All right. And with that, I know you shared a very touching story with me, and I would love for you to share it with the viewers. And this goes back to why it's important to support this foundation that we're building, and even other sickle cell foundations, or even just go to the hospital and volunteer your time. I know you shared with me, while you were at the hospital with Caleb, there was another younger child there as well. And you could go into the story. I would like for you to tell the viewers about it. I don't want to tell it.
Yes. So there was another child in Caleb's room at the hospital, not here, but before we moved. And he was about a year, possibly. I'm not sure of his exact age. The nursing staff was very shorthanded because, as you know, nursing is it's
Under
they're
pressure right
very
now.
extended. Yes, they're
Yes.
mandatory hours and everything. So the nurses really couldn't get enough care for this particular child because he was a foster child and he had
Mm,
no one else there to pretty much care for him. And I just kind of jumped in and started taking care of him too, as well as Caleb, because I couldn't imagine, my son being there and not having the care that he needed if something had happened to me, God forbid, during childbirth or anything. You never want to see a child alone. And, I wish I could help every child. I think anybody, I know you would as well. You just jump
absolutely.
in that situation. You just have to. I can't stand there and see a child cry. It's just the worst. It's the most heartbreaking thing ever to see a child cry and not be able to help. So I just had to jump in.
Absolutely. And this is why I believe, that book that you wrote, came straight from the heart because it just goes to show not only that, these warriors are super kids, but, their support systems are also sheroes and heroes. So,
Yeah.
the Cape definitely love that, and I just believe that this is definitely going to take off and it's going to be an amazing journey, not only for you, but everyone that actually gets involved in it. And I want to actually talk a little bit more about, how our viewers can get involved, where they can find you and, what they can do to help everything get on its way.
Okay. Well, you can definitely find me at www.majorityllc.com, and there you can see our books and products and clothes, sneakers, whatever you might need. And if you don't have funds to spend right now, you can just subscribe to our YouTube or follow us on any social media. We have Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, anything you could think of, Majority LLC. Um, and please register for Be the Match because we definitely need more donors. We got to get the 70% down and save somebody's father, somebody's mother, somebody's son, somebody's daughter. We have to save these young children, So let's all go register today for Be the Match, please.
Yes, awesome. So I have a little bit more for you just to ask as far as you becoming this author. I know it comes naturally because, of course, being an educator, it's in the blood. I'm sorry, it is. My grandmother was an educator, and that woman can write. So
My
I know
grandma
it comes
too. That's so
naturally.
funny.
Mm,
Sorry, I didn't.
see, I told you we just have a lot in common. It's amazing. I love it. I told you you're my baby sister.
Yeah.
So, so this is just something that I feel is amazing to me. You shared with me that you actually wrote, published, and did everything yourself.
Yes, I saw the need for it, and I just knew I didn't really know exactly how to do it. I just know it needed to get done. I wanted to make sure that somebody who didn't have the opportunity that I had to be able to get their kids this literature as well, because I would have been really upset if Caleb didn't have something to read to understand what was going on. You have these doctors telling you, these things with these humongous words, and they're so intimidating because they have like, five other staff men sorry, five other staff members with them, or they're walking around doing rounds. It can be very
Right.
intimidating for a small child. And I knew there had to be something.
Mhm. Well, I'm glad that you did it, and we're definitely going to back and support it. And just to get into it, these books are available on the website, correct?
Yes, they are.
Okay. And could you let the viewers know how much the books cost?
They're $11.99, and sometimes we have sales and discounts as well. We also have a digital version of Super K's Rainy Day, and that one's a little cheaper. It's $9.99, and you can go and purchase that, and it'll download right to your phone.
Okay, that's awesome. And do you have the books at on any other platforms or anything like that?
It's also available on Amazon, but it is cheaper
Mhm.
on our website.
Okay, so it's more cost efficient on her website. But if you don't mind and you just want to support, you can find it on Amazon as well. And we are going to organize for her a virtual book signing, and this way we could set it up so that you
You
guys can meet Super K himself, Caleb, and it's going to be amazing. So we'll talk a little bit more about that later on, and we will come back to the viewers with all the amazing details. Cannot wait. And if you could just let them know um, how soon we are looking to push the organization within the next, how long you think, within the next year, 6 months, what are we
I'm hoping
thinking?
within the next 6 months. Definitely within the next 6 months.
Absolutely. Yes. So if, and of course, she is a part of another amazing group on Facebook as well. And if you are interested, I know that she is looking um, for members that are truly, truly dedicated to the cause about sickle cell. And, if you have any questions or concerns, you could definitely contact Briona. And if you could just let them know again where they could find you so that they can contact you with all the details.
You can contact me at my cell phone number is 973-943-3652, or you can email me at shadow.writer@icloud.com.
Amazing. All right. So I want to take this opportunity for you to show them the books again. So when they're on the website, they know which one to look for. They're all 11.99. However, if you have a particular one that you'd like to get, or all, we prefer all. However, here we are: Journey to a Cure and Super K's Rainy Day. And one of my other favorites one, Superstars Workbook. That it's an
Well,
amazing activity book.
thank you. Well, this
Yeah.
one is a little bit more expensive because there's a lot more pages in it. However, I do think I will do a sale just because of this broadcast, and maybe I'll put a little coupon code for the ones who are listening later on tonight.
Awesome. And we will do something as well on our platform or on my platform. We will talk about it together, and then what you can do is you could use my code, because we'll put my code in there for you guys to get it. Okay? So you could use Diamond, and we're going to come up with some things for you guys, okay? So if you guys would like to find out more about sickle cell anemia, you could definitely contact Briona or myself at Next Level Promotion. And that you could email me as well, next level promotion at gmail.com. And next level is NXT. Everything else is spelled properly. Other than that, guys, I appreciate you guys tuning in. You guys are amazing viewers, and this is definitely another trend setting Thursday where you two are going to continue getting educated about sickle cell anemia and join in this movement to make this world even better and help those that are truly in need. And go ahead and be a donor. Okay. And where can they go and register to be a donor again? Please let
I
them know.
be the match.
Be the
Be the
match. Okay.
match.org, I believe.
Okay, you heard it first here on In the House Media House Call with the amazing Briona Johnson. And I cannot wait to bring everything that we discussed tonight to full fruition. We have work to do. So, guys, stay tuned. And until next time, this is your host, Michelle Diamond, and our super guest, Brianna Johnson, and of course, our super K, Caleb in the back. We love you, Caleb.
Thank
Until
you.
next time, thank you for joining us and have a good night.
Good night.